Hello again. Welcome to Learn Python the Hard Way, Exercise 3. This exercise will now teach you some of the basic math symbols that Python uses. But Python and many other programming languages use these symbols for many different operations. So you're going to learn the names of them, names of the symbol, but not necessarily what they do, and then you learn what each symbol does for math. Later on, you may learn that these symbols are used for other things as well, so it's good to just use a common name. As you can see, we have plus, minus, there's not many other names for those, slash, asterisk, and percent. Those will get used for division, multiplication, and modulus. Modulus is a pretty weird mathematical operation, not a lot of use for it. Usually it's just in programming I've actually only ever used it for, so yeah. Less than, greater than, less than, equal, and greater than equal are also named after what they do. You could also say that they could be like the logical operators. We won't get into those too much right now. You'll learn a lot about logical operators later. Incidentally, I say less than equal, and that actually means, less than or equal. If you really were to be pedantic for it, it's less than, exclusive, or equal, or something like that. But everyone just says less than or less than equal. You don't have to be that pedantic. In exercise 3, I'm going to type this code in again. Keep in mind that many of these exercises are going to be boring for a little while, watching me type in the code, but they will help people out who have a need to see things visually before they actually do them. If you're the type of person who doesn't need to see me type this code in all over again, then feel free to just skip ahead or just go read the book. Everyone should read the book no matter what. Please make sure that you do read the book. You have to read the exercises to really learn this stuff. All right, I will now type in exercise 3. You can see I still have exercise 2 code here. So I'm going to go and make a new text document. And I'm going to save it ahead of time so that I can call it ex3.py right now. And I get color as I type in. This is really handy because it helps me catch errors because the colors will be off from what I know them to be if I type if things are in wrong. All right, so here we go. I should tell you a little bit about how I do the code samples in this book really quick. Basically, most of the code samples don't make any sense. And the reason why is so that you focus on the code and not necessarily what the code is doing. And also sort of so that it detaches you from the importance of what it's supposed to be doing. If, for example, this actually did some real math that mattered, you might worry about the math being correct. But in this case, I'm just demonstrating how the operations work, and then it's not as important, and then you can also change it and break it and mess with it, and it doesn't really matter too much. So just keep that in mind. It'll be total nonsense, but just type it in anyways. It's just an exercise. Okay, I'm going to read that line that I just typed so you can see how I read it in my head as I typed it. In fact, I'm going to retype it, and I'm going to talk while I do it. Print 3 plus 2 plus 1 minus 5 plus 4 modulus 2 minus 1 divided by 4 plus 6. Now, if you want, you can actually see what this does by copying that, type Python. That gives you a Python shell. Paste it in, and get an example. You can then use, like in your terminal, you can use Python like it's a little Python terminal. It's a little advanced technique, but play around with that if you feel like it. Let's get back to the code. All right, that's exercise 3 typed in. Now I'm going to go back through and I'm going to double check my code because there's a lot of math in here, a lot of things I could have got wrong. How I'm going to do it, I'm going to start at the very last line, line 23, and I'm going to look at the line next to it, and then I'm going to start at the back of the line, so where the -2 is there. I'm going to scan backwards. Then I go up to the next line and I scan backwards. I'm going from the end of the line to the beginning and reading them. So I'm actually going -2 greater than 5, comma, double quote. Now I know how to do this very fast, so I'm actually able to do it much quicker. So I'm going to go at my speed. And then this one is very complex, so I want to go back through that one. 6 plus 4 divided by 4. Okay, doing that forces me to not read it and interpret it with my brain, and I have to actually look at each symbol as I go backwards. You find way more errors if you do that. Try it when you're editing English text and other things too. Going backwards forces you to not fill in the blanks that your brain will try to do. All right, let's see if I got it right. So now we take Python, and we do ex3.py. Okay, so it ran. We can now go check and see what we should see. Hens is 30. Roosters 97. 7 for eggs. False. 5. 2, false. And there we go. We typed that one in correctly. Oh, into the computer correctly, not incorrectly. Next, go back through all the study drills. As usual, read through the book, see what they are, see how to solve them, ask around. One of the questions in the study drills is to find out about floating point numbers. So super quick, a floating point number, in case you can't figure it out, is just 2.4. It has a point in it that can float, so I can do 2.40945, blah, blah, blah. I could also do 298 point. That's all a floating point is. So go and play with that and see what Python does with those. Can you go back through and change all the numbers to floating point? How do you make 4 into floating point? Think about it for a second. It's important for you to struggle with these questions and try to figure them out for yourself, because if you figure it out for yourself, you own it. Also, again, go and look at the common student questions. These are really helpful. These are actual questions that students have asked on the forum sites that I run or have asked me directly. So these aren't things I just made up. These are actual problems that people run into and really simple, quick answers for you. All right. See you at exercise 4.